Good morning, everyone. It's Laura Husband here, the editor at Hairdressers Journal International. Thank you so much for joining us for this morning's live on how to create your own roadmap to reopening. And I'm pleased to say this morning we're going to be speaking to Salon business consultant Phil Evans, who is going to be talking to us about what you can and should be doing right now to get yourself, your team, and your clients all prepped for when you can reopen your doors. Phil is going to be sharing his expert tips and advice on how to overcome the challenges you might have faced when reopening in previous lockdowns, and that will hopefully make sure you have a smooth and successful start to 2021. Before I introduce Phil, I also just want to say this is going to be a very busy session, I'm sure, and we've got a lot of ground to cover. So please do give us your questions, and we'll try and cover as much of those as we can at the end. So thank you so much for joining us today, Phil.
Good morning, Laura.
It's great to have you. And I guess this is it's going to be a jam-packed session, isn't it? Because reopening is the hot topic of conversation. I guess where should we start? Should we kind of start with what those that are tuning in should be doing themselves to prepare for reopening?
Yes, and to try and make this easier, because we're going to cover a lot of ground, an enormous amount of issues, we've created a checklist. My team and myself have created a checklist. So after this webinar, everyone can go and spend some time with the checklist, reading the bits that are really relevant to them. Some things they may have dealt with already, and other things will create more questions in there. So I think the checklist is available on our website. I think they'll find that a really valuable working document. But we've also tried to include lots of examples. So where we talk about something like putting a form on your website for priority booking, we've given lots of examples of salons that have done that. So you can visit the Salon website and see how it works. Because I think giving people a solution without showing them how it works is pointless. So the checklist is on our website. So if you go to salonguru.net, on the homepage, there's a big red section right at the top, and it's links through to the checklist for reopening. And that's what I'm going to work through today, that checklist and all the examples that we're using.
Perfect. So let's get cracking then, Phil. So should we maybe start then with anyone who's tuning in? What should they be doing with their team to prepare their team for reopening?
Right. Before I start the thing, I'm going to cover one other thing I said I would try and do. I mean, one of the most important things I think that's come out of this is we all occasionally get overwhelmed by this. There is so much to be done. So my answer to I look after 200 salons, and we talk, me and my team and the salons talk every day. The most important thing is don't get overwhelmed. You know, there is too much to take in at times. Get informed, like today, and any other ways you can get more informed. Get yourself organized with checklists and get help. There's lots of help out there. I find it invaluable. I've spent an hour this morning on a really good group called Salon Owners United on Facebook. I think there's 5,000 salon owners there. It's a great place to go, and there are many others to get some help. You know, don't try and do this alone. Use people like us, experts, and join groups.
I think that's great advice there, Phil. And also just to add, and I think it's easy to forget, we've all done this before now. We've been through multiple lockdowns, haven't we? So it's not completely alien like it was the first time round. So this is just about taking the pressure off yourself, creating a list that you can just work through step by step.
In some ways, it feels a little bit more difficult. I think perhaps we're all just so weary. However, you know, it's got to be done. This is our job. We are the business owners. It's our job to step up, get these things sorted, and make the best job of it possible. So we're going to start with the team and our thoughts. I mean, the checklist goes further than what I'll cover now, but we've tried to incorporate all the ideas from all of our salon owners and all of the Salon Guru team to ensure that, you know, we cover these things. So one of the things that we're doing a lot of at the moment is recruitment. So when we're talking about team, there often have been changes during lockdown. People not coming back. People are going to stay off because they're shielding. People want to change their job. So a lot of people are leaving the industry, but also people are leaving their salons. They're not comfortable where they are. So there's a real opportunity to find good people. So I'm doing a lot of recruitment adverts on social media, Facebook and Instagram advertising. So when we're talking about team, that's probably the first question I'm going to ask. Do you have the team that you need to reopen and going forward, you know, for the next 2 or 3 months? There are examples on the checklist of the kind of adverts we're running. So if you're looking for experienced hairdressers or beauticians or therapists, We show you how you can use Facebook and Instagram targeting to just reach qualified stylists or therapists in your area. So it's a really good way of doing low cost targeted advertising to give you the staff you need. Now, I spoke to a salon yesterday, and they specifically are looking for only stylists with existing clientele in their area. So they're going for the creme de la creme, if you like, and that's all they're going to recruit. And they're going to put the time and money in now to make sure in 3 months they've got a bigger team. So don't overlook the positive, moving forward, doing something to grow your team. But the other areas, the other issues around team are, when are you going to bring people in to deal with the bookings? Are you going to bring some people in early or furlough? Are you allowed to do that? I mean, there's a lot of discussion going on at the moment around skin tests and the administration of skin tests.
We've already had a question around that, but we will get to it.
We've got a section on that coming up, but it also relates to team, because if you're doing these things early, whether it's skin tests, whether it's dealing with bookings, are you going to bring people in early? Are they coming into the salon, or are they going to work from home? Are they working through booking lists? So these are all questions that are on the checklist, and others, about use of your team through the reopening early days.
We have had a great question, actually, Phil, relating to the team and recruitment, which we were just talking about just then. Would you recommend doing Zoom interviews during lockdown with potential candidates, and how would you do the trade test?
Yes, I think it depends on the vacancy. If it's for a qualified stylist or a qualified therapist, I think you could ask enough questions to seriously, to weed out those people just through their skills or the way they come across, to not give them an interview. It's not enough, I think, to get to the final point of offering the job. You'll still need to do this the trade test, but I think it will help you give a much shorter shortlist. So yes, I would do a telephone call initially, because at least half the people you ring, you're not going to want to do a Zoom call with. So, go through the stages, have a plan: phone call, Zoom call, trade test.
And so that's the kind of equivalent in the old days of when you'd have done a face-to-face interview. Yep. So that Zoom is going to replace the face-to-face interview, and the call is that first step. So,
we've all done interviews where 2 seconds into the interview you think, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Perhaps if you'd had a phone call or a Zoom call first, you wouldn't be sat there for the next hour interviewing somebody just isn't suitable for the job. And it's another thing, perhaps, but we may carry on doing beyond this. We may do more of this. We may do more initial telephone interviews or initial Zoom interviews, rather than jumping straight to a trade test for people that are unsuitable.
Definitely. And would you wait then for, how would you do the trade test, I guess, during these times, Phil?
You'd have to wait. So I think
just wait until...
So I think we have to realise the kind of stages to this. There's the pre-opening, which we're now at, and we're planning, and we're going to check. There's the actual opening chaos, and it will be, to get through. And then there's just after that, it's like the new business that you'll be running. That, to me, would probably be the time I'd be looking to bring in new members of staff, not during the chaos of reopening. So I'd be doing trade tests and taking on new staff, possibly 2 or 3 months in. But it will vary for each salon on how desperate are you for staff, or what space have you got? Do you need to wait until the space issues perhaps are more resolved? Which is one other thing on my team. Are you changing your days, your hours, how you operate the salon? Are you going to open 7 days a week? Are you going to open longer hours? What team rotas are you going to run? What number of hours are you going to ask your staff to do? I've seen quite a lot of salons moving to 4-day weeks and every other weekend off. So I think now is the perfect time to make these big decisions about the longer term, how your business looks and operates, including how your team operates.
Definitely. No, it's great advice. We've had another question relating to team before we move on to the next session. And this is about energy levels and muscle power for blow drying, for instance, being below. What can you advise to get the team fit and ready to manage a busy column before those doors reopen?
Right. I've never cut hair, as you know, so I'm not a hairdresser. I'm a website and marketing expert. However, I think, I would suggest to people, if you can get your family to let you practice on them. It's not so much practice, it's get back in the swing of things. We all have to get back in the swing of things. We're all not doing our normal work, whatever that is. So I think we've all got to, doing these kind of events, it's taking me more preparation than it normally would, because I'm rusty. on getting everything together. Your staff are going to be too. It's a question I saw on Salon Owners United today. What are we doing about retraining and training staff up? Because if you can't open before your open date, how do you get people back into the mentality? That's going to be a tough one. I'm hoping that over the next few weeks, I mean, one thing you and I talked about before, Laura, we don't have all the answers today. It's okay to go, that one, skin tests, that one is, as at the moment, unresolved. But same thing with perhaps bringing some staff in early before the opening date. To me, it's unresolved. I'm hoping perhaps we might get some clarification from the government to say you can't open your doors. However, you perhaps can bring people in for some preparatory work, whether that's skin tests or bookings. Or so let's hope that if we don't have an answer now, we will have before we get to that date.
Most definitely, Phil. And just to answer a couple of questions by explaining that in the same vein. So as Adira said, will we get more help from government? I hope so, but we have to wait and see. And please do get involved with the Save Our Salons campaign if you haven't already, which is to try and cut the VAT for hair salons. And Jennifer has asked, do you think the guidelines will stay the same? Again, we're not 100% sure yet, but all we can work with is the guidelines that we have.
Join as many groups as you can. Join as many industry groups as you can, be in as many paid, because I think that's where the best advice is coming from already, and the bits that we don't know, the answers will come. You know, there's a big issue about insurance claims and the business interruption insurance. The best place to go for help and guidance on that is something like Salon Owners United. The group of that group has more experience than anyone, any groupings of people. So that's the best place to go to get the answers as they develop. You may not get an answer today, but you're part of finding the answer.
And we've had a question asking about that Facebook group. It's called Salon Owners United. So
Yes.
for anyone who wanted to know what that Facebook group is. Right, we've got to try and whiz through the different elements of this because there is so much ground to cover. So for anyone tuning in, how can those tuning in start to get their salon or their business organised in the lead up to a reopening?
Do a mental and possibly a physical walkthrough of your salon, and again, there's a lot of detail on the checklist on our website. So think about all the things you're going to need, about the PPE and the reception and the payment methods. Again, we give a long list of these things, but do a physical and mental walkthrough. Is everything in place? Because you want that opening day to be as smooth as possible, but there will be some issues, obviously. So try and do that walkthrough. Now, one of the other ideas that we put alongside that, if you're doing that walkthrough, video it. It hasn't got to be ultra professional. You're going to want to explain this to your clients. Now, we've given a couple of examples on our checklist. Hugh Campbell in Limerick and Monaco Salon in Tampa, two of our clients that have done great videos. This is what to expect when you arrive at the salon. This is what the front door looks like. This is reception. This is how we wash your hair. It's great because that's one of the key things clients are going to be looking for when they're thinking about making their booking. What's the experience going to look like? So this mental and physical walkthrough, once you've got it right, video it and explain it, put it on your website, put it on your social media, send it out by email.
Brilliant. So you'd recommend doing that now then, Phil, starting to visit your space, obviously on your own, because it is still locked down. Visit your space again and start thinking it through. How is it going to work again?
Get the flow right, get the procedures right, and then explain that on a short video. And there's some really great examples on our website.
And I guess there might be a few things that didn't quite work 100% last time, and just maybe it's worth noting those down and thinking, how will we correct this for this time, which is hopefully the last time you're closed. So you want to get it right for this time. Fantastic.
So the next major section I've got is appointments and services, and this is a big one because it's going to be chaotic. Without a lot of planning, how are you going to manage these bookings? So a lot of our clients are doing priority booking lists, some of those with payment, some of them with no payment. So again, examples on our website. You can go and look at salons that are just doing a waiting list where clients put their name and their contact information on a list that can be dealt with in order of arrival. Others are doing that with a payment. So again, a good example of Voodoo in Liverpool are doing vouchers that clients buy, and that then puts them on the priority waiting list. It also gives the salon income immediately, and it handles kind of deposits. So think about how you're going to do those first few days of reopening, whether it's a priority booking list, whether it's your online booking system. When are you going to turn that on? Are you going to turn it on for everybody? Are you going to turn it on for all services? Are you going to limit the services you do in the first couple of days? Will it be only high value services? Will you do kids cuts? Will you do other low-cost services? So all of that needs thinking about now. You don't want to leave it to the last minute, but it's all on the checklist to try and give you as much information as possible. And read through those examples, because they're good salons that do all of this very well.
Would you say there is a right or wrong way to start prepping for bookings? Is it right or wrong to start opening the floodgates to appointments now, or is it right or wrong to take deposits?
No, there's no right or wrong way. There's prepared and unprepared, but the way that suits you is the way that suits you, and it's the way that you've chosen to manage Grey. The thing to do is to look at as many different ways before you make a decision. That's what we're trying to do today. Here are the options. Here are different ways of doing it. Which one suits you? And if anybody wants to talk to me about, the pros and cons of different methods, by all means, we speak to 200 salons all the time. So we've got some good experience of what tends to work and some of the problems related to that. But inform yourself, look at the options, and then make your decisions, and you'll feel more comfortable about it.
Would you advise people not to rush into making those decisions just yet?
Yes,
if clients are sort of hounding you to get those appointments, would you say just hold back and decide what you want to do before you start sharing them out?
I think what I said right at the beginning, we don't know the answer to everything yet. So if there's some bits you're still not yet sure about, be open and honest with your clients and say, we're working on coming up with the best solution for you. Just give us a few more days. While you then still look at these things, you don't have to answer all of these messages today. It just builds on the pressure, and also you're more likely to make the wrong choice. So take your time, explain where and why you're needing to take a bit more time, and then give it some more thought and get more informed. With things like deposits and cancellations, that's a whole area you may want to look at. Are you taking deposits? Have you been taking deposits? Will you be taking deposits? Are you doing the same value? What about your cancellation policy? Does it need beefing up? Do you need a much stronger cancellation policy on your website? If so, do it now. If so, look at the best. See what other people are doing. Use them as the template.
That's great, Phil.
And calling clients, that's another big job you're going to face. If you do get a booking list, who's going to call them? When are you going to call them? Are people coming off furlough? How many times will you call them? That was a really key point for one of our clients. Said, how many times will you call a client, and if they don't answer, give up, and therefore they've lost their slot on the waiting list? Because you're going to have it, and that client will be complaining. So you probably need to document that you called them 3 times, couldn't get hold of them, and now they're at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, and maybe potentially leave a voicemail to say that as well. So this is the last time we've tried you, so unfortunately we've had to. All
things to cross off the list.
Definitely.
So the next thing on my list is skin tests and consultations.
Yes, and we've already had questions on this, Phil. So I'm glad that we've got to this part, because I know a few people are already asking about the issues around skin and patch testing.
And I've spent a lot of time reading about this again this morning. I started at 7 o'clock this morning on groups reading about, and I don't think there's a definitive answer yet, but I think I trust the people in these groups. They're salon owners, they're experts in their field. The answer will come. And I was reading about, the mix of obviously what your insurance company is saying, what your supplier of colour is saying, but I think also what the industry is saying. I think give it time. You may not have a definitive answer today, but I think it will be there in a few days' time. So join those groups, join Salon Owners United, and get involved in the discussion about what your supplier and what your insurance company is saying. And I think we will have a definitive answer, or an answer that we're all really comfortable with, not very far away, perhaps next week.
Definitely, but obviously you do have to bear in mind, you do have to make sure you are covered.
Yes, exactly. So
you are protected.
You will be speaking to your. That's why I don't give the advice. I say speak to all of the people that are in the know. Those are the people in your industry.
Exactly, and do speak to your insurance companies as well to see whether you do, what the rules are around the patch testing. And
and I think it's changing. That's part of the problem. Insurance companies are probably, they're not dealing with it particularly well at the moment. And some of the companies that offer patch testing services, I think, are causing issues as well. It's not resolved. Don't expect to go and get an answer today, but at least I think you'll feel better informed and you'll feel less overwhelmed if you get involved in the conversation.
Brilliant. And James has just commented to say, I've read that skin testing is a must, especially for those who have had COVID, that they become hypersensitive to products.
Exactly. So I think an industry response will always be best for this, rather than you trying to think you can go it alone. You don't need to. There'll be good advice there. The other thing on skin tests and consultations, a lot of our salons are doing video consultations or forms that clients complete before they come in. So again, look on the checklist that's on our website. You'll see lots of examples of ways of handling either video consultations or forms and questionnaires for clients to complete.
And that's a great way to get the team involved again in the lead up to reopening as well, isn't it? Getting them
Yes.
in the mindset to start talking to clients again.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And just a question about deposits. Should salons be taking deposits ahead of reopening this time round?
I've always thought all salons should take deposits always. I mean, I always think it's, and I think many people have perhaps felt a difficulty in doing that, in that they may lose some clients. I think a lot of the industry started doing this some time ago. And if you've not, then I think now is the time to do it, because in the industry as a whole, we can't afford to have clients not turning up when every minute of the day is going to be so important to us. Start taking deposit, perhaps increase the value of those deposits. Make sure you've got a tougher cancellation policy and read the best ones. You know, go to the checklist, find the best salons, read what they say about cancellation deposits, then communicate it, because that's the first part is be informed. The second part is make your decision about what you're going to do. The third part is communicate it well to your clients, which we're going to come on to. Communication is going to be the key element of all of this. Make your decision from, well-informed decision, and then communicate it.
Definitely. And would you recommend, Phil, if a salon does decide to start pre-booking for whatever the reopening date is for wherever you live, putting a disclaimer to say, obviously, if the government decides to push this date back, your booking will also move back, because there could be complications otherwise if people say, oh, but you'd booked me in for X date and now the salon is closed.
And we're kind of getting used to this. We look after 200 salons in every part of the English-speaking world, from Florida to Australia, and obviously many across the UK. So we've kind of got used to keeping it open-ended, but also trying to be as informative as we can be. But I also think people are inherently reasonable. If you say, we're giving you the best advice we can at this moment, but it could change, most people, have got a reasonable amount of common sense.
Fantastic. We've had a great question from Kerry. She's concerned that her clients will not be able to wait for her appointments as there's been such a long wait and such a big backlog. Do you have any advice for how to retain clients while working through the backlog of clients?
I think there's going to be an enormous amount of churn of clients. I think there are don't expect to see all your clients again, but I also think there's going to be an awful lot of new clients available. Every salon I speak to has said that when they reopened after the last lockdown, they saw a lot of new clients. I think that's going to become even more so this time. There's been such a break. The loyalty link has often gone. You may even have lost some of the key members of staff that these people are coming to. You almost need to treat it like you've got a slightly different business going forward. You need to attract a lot of new clients. They're out there, and if you don't, somebody else will. So start thinking about beyond the reopening. We shouldn't be just reacting to what we think is going to happen next. We should be planning what comes after that. And what comes after reopening is settling your business and then growing it. We're all going to need to grow our businesses this year to recover some of the income that we've lost. And the way to do that is new clients, building more income through new clients. And you can start planning that now.
Fantastic. And just before, this was a topic we spoke about a few moments ago, so we'll just tap into Peter's question. He's asking, will salon insurance and government tell us to do coronavirus tests before every client appointment like they do in the Swiss countries? I think the short answer to that, Peter, is we don't know yet. We haven't been told that yet. So
and
we'll just have to wait and see.
It's okay not to know the answer today. The answer will become self-evident, I think, in time.
Definitely. Brilliant. Shall we move on to the services that salons should be offering this time around, Phil?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I've touched on some of them. There are some obvious issues around services the days you open, the first few days. Are you doing some of the low value services, low income? Because you may not want to, but you need to communicate that. But also you may not want to do them going forward. If you're not going to rethink your pricing now, when are you going to? This is the time when probably most salons will be revisiting prices. So don't feel like you're the only one doing it. This is the time to revisit your prices, revisit the services you offer, think about charging for PPE, for longer consultation times, for colour correction. It's going to be needed on an awful lot of clients that have been using, home dye. And so give yourself the breathing space to make the right decision, talk to other people. But I think a lot of salons need to change their pricing structures.
That's great. That's great advice there, Phil. And we did have a question related to PPE a little bit earlier, where someone said, "When do we think PPE will be reduced?" I guess there's no crystal ball for that just yet, Phil, is there?
And we might find that there are some people that are still kind of semi-shielding way into the end of this year and beyond, until perhaps this is not seen as a threat. We may even find that, like the Far East, masks become quite normal for a lot of people when they're out and about and commuting. So who knows? Who knows?
They do say that this idea of cleanliness and hygiene is not just going to disappear. We've all got used to this now, and we expect it in a salon environment now.
Yes,
so it'll be interesting.
I think there are long-term changes to this industry and every other that will come from this. We're not quite sure what they are going to be yet, but one of the key ones is going to be a churn of customers. Everything's going to change. So one of the things we're going to move on to now is communications. And for me, communications is marketing. And I think that's one of the things that you need to get right over the next 6 months. If you want to not just get through this, which I call survival, but you want to then start kind of prospering, you've got to look to be ahead of the game. You've got to look to be better than your competition in all of these things, whether it's COVID preparations, whether it's the work that the images you're putting on Instagram. You need to up your game on all of these things. And that really is marketing. It's communicating to your existing clients and to new potential clients just how good you are on all of these things. We've touched on things like the walkthrough video, what your visit to the salon, that's marketing. But it's also really good communication with your clients. So start getting those things as part of your checklist. How are you going to tell people, your clients, about changes in rotas, changing in opening times, changes in prices, deposits, cancellation policies, services you're offering? There's so much. So get your communication. Now, your communication can be newsletters, emails. We send hundreds of thousands of emails every month. Get that message right. Talk to your clients regularly and keep them up to date and let them know where a decision hasn't yet been made. This will come later, but this is what we're planning to do. Your website, make sure if you use our checklist on the website, go.
Oh, Phil's just frozen for me there. I'm not sure if he's frozen for everyone else there. There you go, Phil.
You froze loads.
Oh, did I? Maybe it was my connection, not yours then, Phil. I can see you again now, so it's all good.
So go and have a look at the communication, which is primarily I always start with the website. Make sure your homepage has a really good, up-to-date, where are we now message, what we're working on, what will come next. Monday night, we were working on all our websites to update them to say what Boris had just said. Tuesday morning, we were sending emails to all the clients. That's being ahead of the game. That's impressing your clients. This salon knows what they're doing. They will be ready when I'm ready. So that's a key part of all this. Get on top of your marketing and plan well ahead. So planning emails, planning your website updates constantly, but then also doing the same on social media. So if you've been doing good newsletters and good website updates, it gives you what you need for social media posting as well. Here's our new deposit policy. Here's our new service list. Here's our new prices. So all part of the marketing campaign that you're going to be running through the next few months.
That's great advice there, Phil. And would you advise people to use this time to get as far ahead in their scheduling in terms of social content and marketing and promotions?
Yeah, I think get it as far as you can on everything. So probably plan what kind of message am I going to want to send when. So when you say social media, it shouldn't just be social media. If I'm going to update my prices, where will I communicate that? So I'm going to want to change my website. I'm probably going to want to put a message on my top of my website. I'm going to want to send an email to all my clients, and then I'm going to do the social media. Doing one part of it won't communicate to everybody. If you put something on your Facebook or Instagram, only a very small percentage of your followers will actually see it. If you send an email, about 35% of the people will open it. So one email, you'll have reached a third of your clients. You have to do an awful lot of social media posts to reach those people. So, and put it on your website, because that's where they'll go when they want to make your booking. So if you put a flash across the top, new prices or new opening times, you're reaching everybody you need to reach.
Definitely. And do you have any tips or advice for putting a positive spin on the new pricing structure, or an increase in prices? I know it can be quite a scary thought for a lot of people to increase prices.
Honesty. Tell your clients why you need to do this. I think and also it means you'll keep the right kind of client. If you lose some clients because of this, perhaps they're the clients you should be losing anyway. We've changed the way we communicate with our clients during this crisis, and some of the messages we're now putting on homepages of websites are much more personal than we ever used to do. Because I think people have got to that stage now where you can actually be really honest, say, listen, we've had no income for this amount of time. We really need to make sure that we're now generating. I think you can be honest with clients. That's what I would do.
Great advice there, Phil. Fantastic. And what are your thoughts on the good old-fashioned telephone from a marketing and social point of view?
I think for an organisation thing, yeah, great. We're going to need it for all of the bookings in and booking in skin tests and cancellations, but I think for marketing, no, I think that the key ways to market are your website, newsletters. Emails are great. It may feel old-fashioned at times, but a lot more people will read an email than a social media post, and social media posting for me is the third option. But the other one is social media advertising. Once you've gone beyond the initial let's get open chaos, social media advertising is a great way to bring in new clients. It's a key communication method, and you can reach the right people at the right time.
Brilliant. And would you, in terms of tailoring a social media advertising campaign to reach new clients, would you wait 5 or 6 weeks before going with that campaign so that you've got your existing clients all done and dusted with first, in terms of a timeline?
It's up to each individual salon. I've got some salons that will probably be running their new client offer 1 week after opening, because they've got the space, they've got a big building, they've got the team, they've got sufficient spread between the team members, and they know it's a city centre and it's very studenty. They know they're going to have spaces. So a week after opening, they're probably going to be running their new client campaign via Facebook and Instagram. Others, we may find it's not until June, July, August.
Yeah.
Each salon is in a different position with a different setup. So, but be ready. Think about it. Go and have a look at some of the best salons and what they do to bring in new clients. If you're a hair salon, get your balayage promotion ready for when you're going to need it. If you're an aesthetic clinic, go and look at what other people are doing within your region and what services they're promoting and what kind of message they're using. So when you're ready, what you're going to do. We've all got time on our hands at the moment. Let's use it the most valuable way possible.
Definitely. And would you advise everyone to look back through their numbers from when they've reopened after past lockdowns to see when that lull starts, when you might need the new clients coming in?
And there are new clients out there. So even if you're only taking some of these clients, and you don't have to spend a large amount of money on social media advertising. You can actually run it on a very low budget just to get the content right, get the right imagery, get the right videos, find out what's working and getting a good reaction, and spend £5 a day. Just get yourself out there. When you're ready, you can ramp that up because you've already got everything done. The adverts are working well. It's operating as you want it to. Double the budget or more. I've got salons that will spend £100 a day on advertising when they really want to go full pelt at this. Others will do £5 a day. There's a value that's right for you. So don't feel like you have to spend large amounts of money. You don't.
Definitely. And is this the sort of thing that the team can get involved with on their own social media channels as well?
Yes, and it's a key thing that I know we all know that your team will not always do what you want them to, but I've seen some salons where it works really well, where the team will come in and they'll look at their list for the day, their work, and they will personally immediately post their Facebook, I've got spaces today at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And that's great because many of their clients will be following them, and it's taking personal responsibility. But then they'll also take personal responsibility for getting a good review, for getting a good selfie, for hashtagging that selfie so it can be put on the website and put on the Instagram feed. So that kind of personal responsibility for your column is your column. It's your work. Make sure that you're taking ownership of it. It's a really good idea.
Fantastic, Phil. Well, I'm very impressed with us. We've managed to whiz through so much ground this morning, Phil. We are a little bit over time, but
so I think
we've done.
Remind people, because we've covered so much, that the checklist is on our website. So if you go to salonguru.net, right on the homepage, big red flash at the top, checklist. So everything and a lot more, and all the examples are on that checklist, so that they haven't got to scribble away lots of notes during our conversation.
Fantastic. And I'm sure, Phil, you won't mind anyone reaching out to you if they had any specific questions as well. Yeah. We're just getting, I knew this would happen right at the end as well. So if you had any burning questions, now is your time, or forever hold your peace or reach out to Phil afterwards. Cindy has said, all super information. Thank you so much. Helps me to focus, as there are really times after and during lockdown, after running 45 years, she was heaven in the shoulders. I think she was just kind of really struggling. So thank you so much for joining us, Cindy. And Angela has said that she's had an email about starting to pay back. Oh, I'm not sure if am I still with you, Phil?
You are, yeah, you froze briefly, but you're back.
Oh, perfect. She's just asking about the bounce back loans and whether or not they've been extended. We'd have to just double check that for you, Angela, in terms of the bounce back loans. But if you have a look on the HA website, we've got all the financial advice where you can see the dates in terms of all of the financial support that's available. We've had a question from Michael saying, how do you join Salon Guru? So that's one for you there, Phil. I'm not sure if it's my screen that's frozen again. Hoping not, but it might well have done. Well, can you all still see me now? Mine has frozen, I think. Can you all you can still see and hear me? Okay. So yes, the questions you were asking me was about joining Salon Guru. So just to say, yeah, if you go to salonguru.net, you'll be able to find out more information about Phil and about joining Salon Guru as well. I think it's safe to say, hello, Phil. I think we had slight technical issues there. Yeah. But yeah, the very last question we had was about Salon Guru. So I was just saying, if they go to salonguru.net, they can find out more about the checklist, which is obviously you can literally go through that checklist. And that takes us right full circle in a way, doesn't it, Phil? Because we said at the beginning, if you are feeling overwhelmed, a checklist and literally going through it step by step through all the different sections that we've covered during this session today is the way to get you ready and prepped for reopening without any snags.
Get help, join groups, talk to people in the industry. You know, we all have days where we feel terrible. Just don't get overwhelmed, get some help.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a fantastic session. I do apologise for the temporary freezing on both mine and Phil's side during that session, but it's been fantastic, and I do we both wish you all the very best of luck with prepping for reopening.
Yes, and we'll talk again soon.
Definitely, and use that checklist. I think that's the main piece of advice to take from this, isn't it, Phil? Is that, or even if you want to create your own checklist, just having a checklist that you can make sure you've got organised, and you can start splitting out your days ahead of your reopening date to make sure you cover all of that ground.
Better. Yeah, it'll help you feel more in control.
Fantastic. And would you just recommend just doing a little bit each day, basically, Phil?
Yeah. Some days I just do the smallest thing just to make me feel better. Some days I go for it, So, work to your own pace. But there's a checklist there, and there's lots of other ways to get help.
Definitely, and get the team involved as much as possible if you can as well. So I guess that starts to get in their mindset that reopening is coming.
Getting the team up to speed is going to be a challenge. But that's our job. That's what we're here for. We're here to run the business, so we have to kind of set the pace and lead the way.
Definitely. Well, we've just had someone say they're already printing out the checklist right this second. So Anisha, it sounds like you'll be having a very productive day. So And do you remember, you can always listen back to this live as well on our Facebook pages, our YouTube pages, and on our IGTVs as well, depending on which publication you're tuning in from, whether that's Professional Beauty, Hairdressers Journal, PBH Ireland, whichever publication you're tuning in from, you can find this on our social channels as well. So thank you so much, Phil, for joining us.
No problem. I'm sure we'll do this again very soon.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you very soon, and best of luck, everyone.
Thank
Speak
you.
soon. Bye.
Bye.